Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice and to My Choice Tuesday. A lot of times I take inspiration for My Choice Tuesdays from things that you've been recommending. Maybe these are songs that haven't been in the top recommendations, but I've seen them around and I've really been curious about what they are. And that's the case today. A bunch of you have mentioned this singer, Jonathan Young. And so I looked into him a little bit and found out that he essentially does a lot of rock and metal covers of Disney and anime songs, which sounds like something I would really, really love. So, in particular, I got excited to see that he's done a cover of Hellfire. For me, Hellfire is one of the greatest songs in Disney music, and also especially for villains. I think it's incredible. It was originally written by Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz, who are just geniuses, especially in the way that they've written for Disney. So I want to hear what Jonathan Young does with this. And I also want to talk a little bit about why this song is super awesome. Let's get to it.
Beata Maria, you know I am a righteous man. Of my virtue I am justly proud. Beata Maria, you know I'm so much purer than the common vulgar weak licentious crowd. Then tell me, Maria, why I see her dancing there, why her smoldering eyes still scorch my soul. I feel her, I see her, the sun on her raven hair is blazing in me out of all control.
Wow. I'm going to pause here. I already have a feeling this might be better than the original, which is shocking to say. I really love the original. But I immediately feel like he's extremely tormented. And that's one of the reasons I like this song. I feel that it's such a good example of how somebody can self-rationalize something and how that self-rationalizing and not admitting to bad behavior, essentially, and taking responsibility for it and then changing it, if you let that go too far, it can make a person essentially into a villain. So the struggle in this song, and originally there's like this Latin chorus behind it that juxtaposes things very, very well. But that struggle and the tortured feeling of the judge, I think, is just incredible. It's such a fascinating look inside of a villain's psyche. It's just amazing. Additionally, I love the darkness of it. It's almost something you wouldn't expect to see in a Disney film. It's kind of twisted. It's almost not child appropriate, right? It feels very adult. And he sounds with his voice immediately like you just hear the tortured and the twisted. I think that it's a great song to be adding some distortion into, because that adds to that feeling of torturedness, right? And I hear a lot of beautiful, he's got a deep timbre, but when he went up to the top here, I like the way he was able to kind of keep some of that deepness without sort of overloading or being overbearing on his upper voice. Anyhow, we're going to go back a little bit. I'm also really digging just the arrangement overall, the instrumental choices. I love starting with this empty piano. Originally, right, this is taking place in a cathedral. So the piano here has a really beautiful reverb, which makes it feel more spacious, like it might be happening in a church.
Beata Maria, you know I am a righteous man. Of my virtue I am justly proud. Beata Maria, you know I'm so much purer than the common vulgar weak licentious crowd.
So, oh man, this is really cool. I feel like he's really made this his. So when he's saying things like weak, vulgar, you can feel the disgust of Judge Frollo, the character he's playing. You can feel the disgust of the judge for those people. And, the judge is trying to be so much further above all of these people. And he believes himself that way, but he actually isn't, right? And he just can't really admit that. So I love the disgust that he brought into his tone right there. This is great.
Righteous man, of my virtue I am justly proud. Beata Maria, you know I'm so much purer than the common vulgar weak licentious crowd. Then tell me, Maria, why I see her dancing there, why her smoldering eyes still scorch my soul. I see her, the sun on her raven hair is blazing in me out of all control. Like fire, hellfire, this fire in my skin, this burning desire is
Really cool growl of that. It wasn't just sin, but it was sin and then like a growl at the end. There's a lot that's happening in his backing track that is amazing, in addition to his vocal being amazing. So I'm super curious to know more about how involved Jonathan is in creating that backing. Like, is he working with an arranger on this? I know that he works a lot with another person named Caleb, I believe. So I wonder if maybe Caleb is helping with the backing, or maybe Caleb's another singer. I'm not sure. But the very, very, I'm loving that in the backing track we have a big chorus as well. It's more subtle than the chorus that is in the original animated version of this. I didn't catch any of the Latin going back and forth, but I definitely have a feeling of that bigger chorus, which is really good. The chorus is like a bunch of congregation or monks essentially chanting and asking forgiveness in the original film and accepting guilt. It's saying like, I am guilty, like I have sinned and I am at fault. And the juxtaposition of that chorus against the priest saying like, it's not my fault, I'm not to blame, right? These are the things that part of what makes it such a great song. So I'm really happy to hear that he has included a backing chorus here. Also, those blast beats, they make so much sense when you get to that big moment. I never knew how much sense blast beats would make in a Disney song, but it makes total sense, right? Because it's really amping up that energy and making it feel like more dreadful. Like there's a lot more at risk. It makes your blood pump a little bit more. Additionally, I feel like the video production quality on this is pretty awesome. It's kept simple, but you really have the fire and the sparks going, and that echoes what happens in the film as well. It's like these sort of like burning images of Esmeralda. Really fantastic. Let's go back just a little bit. I'm going to hopefully appreciate some of those burning images of Esmeralda here again. Yeah, cool after effects.
It's not my fault, I'm not to blame. It was the gypsy girl who wakes us in this flame. It's not my fault, is it God's plan? He made the devil so much stronger than a man. Protect me.
He reminds me a little bit of Ronnie. Interesting, a little bit lower voice overall, which is really good for this character. Right, this character has definitely got more of he's more of a deep villain kind of sound, which really works for Jonathan, I think, very well. But Jonathan has this way of like crying into the voice that is fascinating to me. He's got a lot of bite available in his sound, but the depth of his sound has some of that like dome pocket as well. Lots of bite and cry though. And then he's just really fluidly going back and forth with some distortion to really be expressive. Again, express that tortured, distorted version of reality, right? It goes with distortion. Very cool. Okay, back just a little bit. I like this bridge section. I guess it's really section B. It's an interesting song structure too, which is part of what makes it so good.
It was the gypsy girls, the witches, and this flame. It's not my fault. Is it God's plan? He made the devil so much stronger than a man. Protect me, Maria. Don't let this siren cast a spell. Don't let her fire sear my flesh and bone. Destroy Esmeralda and let her taste the fires of hell, or else let her be mine and mine alone.
I love his control over how much distortion he's adding and taking away. And it is so well represented in this last section we heard. You hear beautiful, clean singing that can get just a little bit of distortion on top. It definitely feels to me like he is using two different mechanisms for creating clean singing versus distortion, right? When people try and create distortion down at their true vocal fold level, you tend to get in trouble, right? That true vocal fold level is for creating pitch. And when you make distortion the right way, there's a different area of your throat. It's above, actually, where you create that pitch that essentially can put some noise on top of the sound, and that creates distortion. And honestly, that distortion can be made in several different ways. As long as it's not made with the true vocal folds, you're going to be, well, I can't say 100% safe, but it's going to be a lot safer than if you were trying to create it with your true folds. That would tend to lead to vocal damage. I love hearing this entry and exit of it, and there's like different percentages that he can pour into it. It almost feels like he just thinks about like how much more tormented he wants the character to feel at this moment, or how much more hopeful. And if it has a hopeful, like twisted hopeful moment, then he goes for clean. And if it's like descending into madness, then he goes for distorted. And I wonder if he thinks like how much more mad the character must be at this point for how much more distortion he wants to add. I'm guessing a lot of this is pretty automatic to him at this point. It's really, really cool with great control. Let's go back a little bit. So that's our like crazy, demon mad guy part. Destroy Esmeralda. No, she's cool. We really like Esmeralda. We should keep her alive, right? So that's a great moment for him to go crazy distorty.
Let her be mine and mine alone.
I love the fires of hell part. Like he's like really going off the deep end there, and you hear that. It feels like it's like this is what should have been in the film. It probably would have been too modern for the time, right? But if they remade The Hunchback of Notre Dame today as an animated movie, or even like as like a realistic movie, like they've been doing all of these sort of like live remakes, I would want to see the priest portrayed in this way. Wow, that's so cool.
Be mine and mine alone.
It's a hopeful moment. Whoa, that was cool. I mean, first of all, we started off with this bigger scream, but I'm really fascinated. I want to listen more to what he's saying in here. A lot of times his voice is more forward in the mix, but it sounds like he's like actually pulls it back in the mix purposely to let it feel like it's getting lost. It's cool. Nice scream there. Obviously, something really big is coming up, and I keep stopping it right there. But that's because I'm not ready to handle the next moment yet. This moment is really cool. This build, builds make a climactic moment really land. They're super important. They're hard to do as well. And his voice, the way it sounds kind of crazy, I mentioned it was pulled back in the mix. They're also panning it slightly. So I hear it going right to left here, like he's having this huge inner struggle. It's such an interesting production element. And in addition, like this isn't in the normal film. I think there's like some guy that comes in and talks to Frollo while he's praying, asking for forgiveness by the fire or whatever. And this is really cool. One more time here. Oh my gosh, the breathing.
I will find her. I will find her if I have to burn down all of Paris. Hellfire. I will find her.
I wonder what he did for production right there. It's super creepy.
I will find her.
You can tell the crazy mad demon side is taking over. Just the visuals, you can see that, but you can also hear it. I think that leaving the breath in really loud makes it even more creepy. That inhalation is great. Singers sometimes forget that an inhalation can be part of the overall expression. And if you're breathing in really loud all the time, it's not a good thing. That's the sound essentially of your vocal tract closing up. When the breath comes in, it actually lets less air in. But when people are really frantic and scared, they do have that constriction in their throat. And so we tend to hear that breath in more. And this is a great moment where we would hear that constriction in a person's throat. And so he's capitalized on it and he's made it a part of the expression, which is cool.
I will find her. I will find her if I...
Okay, but listen to it again, because I think he actually layered multiple breaths in there because he knew how good that moment would be.
Give me sanctuary, please. I will find her. I will find her if I have to burn down all of Paris.
Nice accent too.
Dark fire. Now it's your turn. Choose me, your fire.
Ooh. You can tell, like, there's even like it looks like a tear that is coming down his cheek there. Wow. Wow, he is like so invested in this. You can't get that kind of expression without having some sort of emotional connection you're pulling from. I mean, it doesn't have to be that he's like lusting after Esmeralda in real life or something, right? You can have essentially a replacement. You just think about something that has tormented you to this crazy degree. It can be like all kinds of things in life. Just if you just pick something that torments you, you'll have an echoing, true emotion that can be plugged into a piece like this. And I love how far he's taking it. Like he's really going for it. Just, it's scary. He's an amazing villain. It makes me kind of want to see something that's nice because I feel like I might be getting a skewed view of what he is because he seems a little bit scary and unhinged from this like single video. I bet he's actually not, because this kind of production requires so much determination, so much artistry and development as a person. And so I think he's just doing an amazing job of pulling something from his life and then taking it really far and acting it like crazy and bringing expression to it like crazy. And it's amazing to get to watch. Okay, here. Oh, I love the distortion on Dark.
God have mercy on
two really fun things to look at here. I love the teeth that he has involved in his sound here. Sometimes when people have a lot of teeth and they're pulling a lot back to show the teeth, you get a lot of extra tension in the sound. I don't really hear that happening. I hear just a little more bite in the sound. Very reminiscent of how Lizzie Hale uses teeth in her sound. So sort of really fun juxtaposition there of like an opera singer would probably use more roundness, go, ah, right? And you don't see hardly any teeth for that. So that's interesting. And then on top of that, he's doing essentially like off growls. So sometimes there's something called an offset. So when you finish singing, what's the sound that happens right afterwards? And here, he's really leaning into this. He did some earlier in the piece, but as it's continued, he's gone more and more for these offsets. So if you were to just say like, Mary had a little lamb, essentially the offset on lamb, instead of going straight through just the consonants and ending with the consonants, there's additional breath and sound that continues to be made afterwards. Sometimes we'll call that a shadow vowel in Italian. Like if I say God instead of just God, Gada, and having an at the end. So he's doing an offset that is always growly, that feels like there's more tension that can't even be released within that one sound, which I think is super, super cool and very expressive. Nice talking about it.
God have mercy on her. God have mercy on me.
Lots of growly.
She will be mine, or she will.
Okay, we're going to go back a little bit here. Love the slide up to it. That makes sense. It makes sense, and it feels like just a little bit grating on the nerves, which is perfect for what we're looking for at this moment. And it sounds like on Burn, when he gets up to that top one, the voice is pulled back. So it's not as forward in the mix. It sounds like there's essentially like more time or like a pre-delay that maybe was put on it. So it's back further in the mix, which gives it more spaciousness, which is very interesting choice there because it's going to be held for a long time. Oh, I need to go back further to catch that really fun slide. There. Oh, and the original, it just ends on Burn, right? I like the way that he's like, nah, I can do more. And takes it up. And then this Give Me Sanctuary scream at the end is really cool. Oh, it feels, yeah, it feels scary. So that would normally be the end, right? Yeah, take it up a third higher. Woo! Yeah, go download this in the description. Oh my goodness, it sounds like something from The Shining at the end in this play out, this like really creepy orchestral play out. Oh, it's so disturbing. I'm gonna do it one more time because it's so disturbing, in the best of ways. I love that he took it up here because historically, well, I shouldn't say historically. I've worked with lots of singers on this song. Just holding out the first burn and that high note is quite a bit for a heavy voice to do, which often you have that heavier, deeper villain sound doing this. So going up higher and then being like, oh, but instead of going up higher again, even after that, the next level of expression is instead to go to a scream. I think that's just fascinating and well thought out way of upping the emotional distraughtness. I love the frantic sounds in the background too. Oh. Oh, so creepy. Wow, the tears, really nice touch at the end. Oh, cool. I'm just delighted that this version feels to me even better than the original. The original at the time, I remember seeing it as a kid and being so scared and feeling like Frollo was the worst / most scary villain ever. I really did not like him as a child, and it was largely because of this scene. I felt like, oh my goodness, such a twisted, crazy, like, ew, this villain just gives me the creeps. And wow, taking that and putting it into a metal context where you can go further with the harsh vocals was really smart. I think it was just a stroke of brilliance, really, with the way that he was adding different expression to this. And oh my goodness, the levels of distortion that he can bring in felt like it was truly just like a matter of asking, well, what percentage of distortion would you like? His clean singing was good. It was solid, right? It sounded really supported in the body. But man, the most impressive thing to me was really the expression and the commitment to that, right? That tear at the end, it's great. It makes it feel so much more raw. And in some ways, it makes it feel even more relatable because you and I have all been through struggles in life, and you feel that clashing of different wants to go in different places. And wow, I love the way that was heightened in here and brought out. It was just a very fantastic video, performance, arrangement, you name it. And I'm so glad that so many of you recommended this because you have great taste, and you were right. I did love it. I hope that you'll keep making recommendations down below. I'm here every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday as well. We have live premieres those days, and you can come and say hello to us during that time. And there's no advertisements during that time. It's really fun to just hang out with the community and celebrate a new video being released. So I hope I'll see you there. You can also find me on Patreon and at thecharismaticvoice.com, where I teach courses about music in general and singing. I hope to see you somewhere soon. Mwah!